Hey, Pickle Peeps, thank you for joining me for another video. This is a little bit different. We're gonna be doing a get ready with me because I have to catch up on some videos that I wanted to make. It's been really busy for me for a while, for like a month and a half. I've just been nonstop doing stuff. So we're gonna do a get ready with me where I'm gonna talk to you about what's been going on with me and like where I'm gonna go with this channel, and then be fun and lovely and all of that stuff. So I wanted to talk about was I more recently, let's see, April, May, June, July. So about like three to 4 months ago, I realized that I was a Christian. Like, I realized I became Christian, and it didn't happen subtly. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit and put this as my like testimonial going out there in the world for funsies, really. For funsies. No particular reason. I just wanted to let you guys kind of know what was going on. That way, you guys know. If you guys ever had a question, you guys can know. So I was born and raised on a reservation in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. And if you guys don't know this, I am Native American, and my family's Native American. I grew up on a reservation, and because of that, I grew up in a kind of not awkward, very differently from a lot of people on how they grew up. So I grew up with more traditional type of explanations of where we come from, what our purpose is here. On the reservation where I grew up when I was a child, we didn't have running water or electricity in a lot of the places that I lived. So there was a lot of struggle, and there was a lot of us trying to figure out like what was going on, like as children, and us being told from older generations of this is how you came into this world, this is what we're doing, this is like kind of our traditionally backstory and for our culture. And that's what I went off of for a very long time. And I didn't really question as much until I got a little bit older. And my dad, he's more traditional, but he's not Christian. He's not a Christian that I know of. And my grandfather, who also raised me, because my mom and my dad got divorced when I was about 5 years old, my grandfather was a Christian. So he brought more the Christian type of theology into the house and kind of married that with what I was taught traditionally. And my dad worked a lot. There was three of us, and then later on there was four of us. But when there was three of us, he was working multiple jobs. He was gone all the time, so we didn't see him as much. And one thing that as I get older, I'm more and more thankful about my father is that when he was home, and when I became more of a teenager, when he was home a lot more, he likes to argue. My dad loves to argue. That is like his favorite pastime. Just loves to argue. And so I, being a teenager or a young teenager, influenced by TV, because at this time we moved into a different town, and we had TV, we had electricity, we had running water. We're more in the central town, which is it's a central town hub on the reservation, where all of the surrounding towns that are super small, they all come to this town. That's where you have the high school, that's where you have the schools. There's a grocery store there, and there's like 2 gas stations there, and that's the hub of where it is. Oh, there's also a post office there. So we moved into this town. We had running water, electricity, and I had TV at this point. And I had TV, and being a preteen teenager, I started doing what most preteen teenagers do and started developing my own way of thinking and how I saw the world. And it went back and forth a lot on a lot of things, but I started saying like definitive, I believe this type statements. And my dad, being my dad and loving to argue, would always argue with me. He would always take the opposite position of whatever I said, whether I believed, whether I agreed with, or anything. He took the opposite position of this, and he would argue with me constantly about it until I was like, "Do I really believe this?" Well, there's a lot of exceptions here, and he was just bored. And what that gave me was a healthy dose of skepticism and a belief that unless I can fully argue my point or have an answer for all of these arguments, I don't really believe in a thing. Like, so it caused me to think more critically on what I endorse, what I believe, what I want to do going forward. Like, kind of like that. Like, my dad was always making me think on things. And so that's kind of how I grew up. I wasn't forced to be a part of any religion. I wasn't told that any other religion was bad. I was encouraged to read and to learn and to ask questions. I was always asking questions. I still ask so many questions. Yes. Any boss I've had, any teacher I had, even my husband, I ask so many questions, just because that's who I am. That's kind of how I was raised. As I asked so many questions, and my dad, because we were Native American, raised on a reservation, I understood that I would be lied to a lot. That's kind of what I was taught as well as a kid. Was I was to be lied to a lot. It's a normal thing that happens, especially large organizations and large things like this. Like, they're gonna lie to you. They're gonna lie to you. They don't have your best interests at heart. And I was kind of like the voodoo lore on how I was raised. And when I was 17, I left my house. I graduated from high school. I joined the military. I was gone. I was traveling. I was learning all different types of things. I did not know the amount of religions and cultures and things. Like, it was culture shock for me because I grew up on a reservation. I grew up with the same people, like the same group of people for a very long time. They all looked like me. They all spoke like me. Even if we had small, minor differences, I knew what they were and why they were there. So it was culture shock, but it was really great. I got to learn a bunch about a lot of different cultures and things. I got to travel. And as I got older, because like now I'm not in my 20s anymore. I don't know how old I am. I'm in my 30s somewhere. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I went into my 40s yet. I don't know. My husband won't tell me how old I am. I just know I'm pretty sure I'm like in my upper 30s. And when I got older, I kind of defaulted back to the way I was raised. Through all the political things, all of the things going on in the world, all of this type of stuff, I kind of was just like defaulting back to what I was taught as a kid and what I believed as a kid. And it's more culturally what was traditional. And even going through all of the sciencey types of things, I'm like, you know what? It lines up with what I believe anyways. Like, it doesn't disbar what I believe. Like, it's I just kind of defaulted back to the more traditional ways. The older I got and the more I saw of the world, the more I learned, the more of everything, I just kind of went back to, this is what I believe. Like, after going through all of the things that we as a society have been through in the last like 10 years, that's kind of like, no, this is what I believe. Soul searching and thinking about all of these things, this is what I believe. And it was fine. It didn't contradict it. I didn't have to like defend it or anything. Nobody asked me. I don't talk about what I believe, my religion, my like way I was grew up. I never really talked about it. So wasn't really an issue. And kind of stayed in that when I was younger. I dabbled in a bunch of different religions and a bunch of different things I shouldn't have been dabbling in. Like, looking back on them now, I'm like, it's a little cringy. I'm surprised I got out of that unscathed. But I dabbled in a bunch of different things when I was younger. And like I said, now I've thought more traditionally of culturally of what I was raised, what I was taught, and what most people in my tribe still believe. And I stayed that way. And then I want to say 2 years ago, 2 years ago, my husband, which we've been married for over 12 years at this point. My husband told me that he scared me. He did the whole "we need to talk." And I was freaking out about that because I'm like, he doesn't take this type of tone. There's never a "we have to sit down and we have to talk" type conversation. So it was just scary. And during this conversation, he told me that he was a Christian. And I'm not going to tell his story. His story is a fascinating story. It really is. I'm not going to tell it. It's not my story to tell. But he told me he was a Christian. And I was like, okay, cool beans. You do you. And I didn't really think that much more of it. But I started to look up different things because I work out in the middle of nowhere. Like most of you know, I'm a mail carrier with the post office. So, and I work out, I'm a rural carrier, so I work out where there's like no signal, there's trees all over the place. It's a foresty area. And so there's no cell phone signal there. So I listen to a lot of video essays on YouTube. And most of it's whatever I'm obsessing about at the time. It could be anything. There was a whole month where I listened to nothing but Siphonophore's information because I wanted to learn more about that. But I listened to video essays. And because I am a really good wife, I try to learn more about my husband's interests, my husband's hobbies, what my husband is into at the time or what he is interested in. I try to learn a little bit about him so I could talk with him about it because we talk a lot. So I wanted to learn more. I went out of my way to try and find Christian content creators who were explaining things about the religion. Because I had a basic idea, kind of like the basic idea that everybody has about Christians. And the only Christians I really knew, there was some of my family members, like I said, my grandfather was Christian, some of my grandparents were Christian, but nobody actually, my grandfather married what he knew of what Christianity was to stories from my culture. So it made a different type of sense to me. Nobody actually sat down and told me what Christianity was. So besides my family members who went to church and all of that, I didn't go to church with them. I didn't go to church with them all the time. It was usually when my dad couldn't find a babysitter for us that we went to church with one of my aunts in the nearby towns. But nobody actually told me what it was. And besides those family members, the only people that were Christian-ish were the Mormons who were the teachers in the school. If you guys do not know, more people in the Mormon faith, the LDS, is it LDS? The Church of Latter-day Saints. That church, they come to the reservations and they're usually the teachers in the schools, and they just kind of incorporate themselves. They sometimes will evangelize to natives, not as much anymore. Mostly they're just our teachers. Sometimes they're mostly just teachers in the schools. So I knew some Mormon kids growing up, and I always thought it was weird the way they were talking about what they cannot do. And I was like, that's interesting. But other than that, I really had no idea. So I tried to go out of my way to find Christian content creators to explain to me what this was all about. And I just like most women, especially most women in like their 30s like I am, we like true crime and cult documentaries and all of these type of things. And so I found a couple of content creators that focused on cults that were using the Christian faith to make their churches into a cult-like thing. And that's kind of where I started out. And I started listening to creators like this. They started explaining it. And then the more I listened to it, it was months. it was maybe like 6 months. I would listen to them. I'd listen to somebody explaining a verse or a chapter, and like explaining cults and the charismatic movement and the word of faith thing and all of these type of different things which are culty. And so I was like, this is fascinating. And all of these teachers that I was listening to and all of these content creators online were saying, like, you need to read the Bible for yourself. You cannot count on anybody else telling you what the Bible says, which made sense to me. And I was like, you know what, that makes sense. That really does make sense. And that was one of the things that I remember as a kid was I can't speak on something unless I either have a verified source or I'd have to read something for myself. I learned how to read research papers and things because it was just like, I need to find out this information for myself. And that was something my father pushed. So it wasn't until this year, it was in March. That's when I asked my husband for a Bible. I think I really shocked him. I asked him for a Bible because I decided I was going to read the Bible myself. I wanted to know exactly what my husband believed and one, how that was going to affect me because like a lot of people who do not know, I was like, well, I know that the Bible says that, women have to be submissive and quiet and stuff. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't think that's in my nature. And so I decided I needed to read the Bible for myself. And I needed to tell my husband that I wanted a Bible, one, so he could pick out a translation for me because I had no idea. I had no idea what translation I wanted to read. I didn't even know there was a bunch of different translations until I asked for a Bible. And I was like, whoa, there's like a cajillion of them. So I wanted him to pick it out for me. And I also don't buy things. You guys been like hanging out in my streams or anything, I don't buy things. Like I don't handle any of the money in our household. That I don't do that. So if I want something, I put it on a handy dandy little list and then my husband sees it and then it magically appears. That's my life with having to get things. So told him I wanted a Bible and so I wanted to start reading it. And he, being the lovely caring husband that he is, had already bought me a Bible. Like apparently a while back. So I started reading it and I even told, it's not I told you guys, I think in a couple of videos and a couple of streams, I started reading the Bible and I wanted to learn more about it. So I started reading it and it was really funny. It was about Leviticus because it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. So it's like the third book of the Bible. There's 66 books in the Bible, if you do not know. In most Bibles, there's some denominations that have more books of the Bible, but the general canon is 66 books. And so I started reading it, and about the third book, I stopped, and I started asking questions because, like Genesis, I get. I'm like, okay, I get this. The way that a lot of people are taught is this is a creation myth. And I was like, I know some of this, but okay. I didn't have many questions about it because I was like, you know what? My culture tells me that there's 4 worlds and we came out of a cave system into this world because the second world flooded and we climbed through the sky. So I was just like, I can't say anything about the Genesis. And I started reading. I'm like, this is a little crazy. Like this is getting a little crazy. And then Exodus was Moses and leaving Egypt and everything. And Leviticus is after they left Egypt. And that's when you start getting the rules of what you can and cannot do. And it started to read off to where in my feminist brain, because I started to read it and I was like, I don't agree with this. I don't understand. So I stopped reading And I asked my husband, what does this mean? I don't understand. I don't get this. This is hitting me in a weird way. It's making me feel it's a little cringe. I don't like this. What is this? And we started talking about it. We started going over it, and then I started to understand more, and then I realized that around Leviticus was about the time that I was like, I believe this too. I understand this. Talking with my husband, listening to more of the teachers online, and because it's not like I went to church or anything, but I listened to a bunch of different leaders from different types of denominations across the country, and some of those teachers who went to different countries and went across the world, and started listening to all the different things. And I'm like, I agree with this. It makes sense to me. And a lot of it lined up with how I was raised and the lessons that I was taught as a kid. But yeah, around Leviticus was around the time that I realized that I do believe in this, and we started talking more. My husband and I started talking more about the Bible, and I hadn't even gotten to the New Testament yet, so I haven't even gotten to the Jesus part of it. But we started talking more about it, and we started having an open dialogue about what was going on, what it was believing, and he was able to help me shift my perspective. Because I went into, especially that book. That book is where it brings up you are unclean a lot, and a lot of that I was just like, hold up. Like, again, that feminist part of my brain was like, that's weird. How dare you? Why are you saying this? And then we were able to talk about it. We went into the historical context of what was going on at that time, and a lot of these different things. It created an open dialogue between us. We started talking more, and that's around the time that I was like, yeah, you know what? I am Christian. I do believe in this. Like I said, it didn't like dramatically shift how I saw the world. Most of it lined up with what I already was shown and taught as a kid. So it was a shock, because I was just like, whoa, I did not know that I would ever be a Christian. And anybody who's ever known me from like a child, I think they would be super surprised. But it created open dialogue. We started talking more about it, and then the more we talked about it, the more I kept reading into it. The more I listened to these teachers, the more I was able to, like I said, line up my beliefs with what was being said in the Bible and everything. And the more that I was just like, yes, I believe this. I trust in this. And then that's when I got to tell my husband, like, yeah, I am Christian. Like, look at that. I am a Christian. And it is really great, because after that I was starting to read the Bible more. I was still reading it the way you read a normal book, even though there's a lot of people out there who are like, you should read it this way or this way. I was reading it like I read a normal book. And are talking about, my husband was telling me about, there was no verse wasted in it. You learn something from every single verse of the Bible. And then so I had to stop and like go back. And again, that helped me shift my perspective on like Leviticus and why things were said and why things were phrased the way they are. I now know some words and phrases in ancient Hebrew and ancient Greek, which is weird. It's really weird, because I'm just like, well, now I want to know. And so that's been contributing to why I haven't been doing much online. Is besides work, I've been doing a lot of different types of Bible studies and making sure, like, yeah, this is what I am. I didn't want to seem like I was just saying I was because my husband was, because that's weird, and I didn't want to do that. So I dived more into it. I dived in more into Christianity. I dived more into teachers. I dived more into what I believed. I did literally just a lot of soul searching and a lot of trying to figure out what I believe and how I wanted the rest of my life to go. And it was, like I said, it wasn't too hard. It lined up with what I believed already. And there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that there is no explanation for it. There's no reason like my husband and I should have ever met, let alone gotten married, and then stayed married for over 12 years. But we did. And when we tell the story to people of how we met and how we continued to meet, and everybody goes, "Aw," and people tell me like, "Oh, this is so great, it's like a soulmate, love at first sight." Like, yeah, it was. And before I would be like, "What? The universe really wanted us to be together? That's so crazy." No, it was God. God wanted us to be together, and it cracks me up now. But it, like I said, it lined up with a lot of what I was believing, but doing some more soul searching, doing some more research into it, and I was starting to really believe it. And then I was like, yes, no, this is what I am. So that was in March. Late March is when I asked for a Bible. Like mid to late March, and then that's when I started reading it. And then early April is when I could confidently say, yes, I'm a Christian. And it's been pretty great, actually. I've been reading a lot more of the Bible. I've been finding out a lot more about all kinds of stuff, and I've been enjoying this journey. And I've been stopping to ask my husband so many questions, because reading it and going through it, I have so many questions. Like, what does this mean? What is that? What is this? And I've been finding some more resources on it. So that was the biggest thing I wanted to let everybody know, because it is going to cause a shift in my content. Right now, all I do is put up video games and book reviews. And I'm still going to put up book reviews. I like book reviews. I like reading. It hasn't changed. And I am reading more Christian nonfiction, like not so much novels, but more research type of things. And I will review them the way I usually review things. And I'm also planning on doing there's one of the teachers that I listen to is John Barnett, and he has his own, I'll put his channel in the description if you guys are curious about it. But he does a series called The 52 Weeks for the 52 Favorite Chapters of the Bible. And it's 52 chapters that will help you learn the Bible more and kind of explain the whole thing without reading the whole Bible. And I don't know if I'll be able to do that once a week, because my current work schedule and everything. Like, I'm going to try, but it may be like once every 2 weeks or so. But I will still do those. I'm going to start putting those up. And just so you guys can know, I'm not trying to teach anything about it, because it's only been a few months. I'm in no way, shape, or form prepared to teach anybody, but I'm learning. And if you want to learn along with me or see what it's about, those videos will be there. And it'll also have me putting up a little bit more things, because I now find out I have opinions on a lot of things. So I may do some random opinion type videos of what things that I'm seeing going on, but it also shifts the way that I view content. I was planning on putting up reviews for movies and TV shows on here as well, and I'll probably still do that, but a large part of that will be like, as a Christian, should you be watching this? Like, or from a biblical worldview, is this something that I should be watching or not? And I'm not one of those people who are like, no, you shouldn't play video games, you shouldn't watch horror movies. I definitely think there should be more Christians in horror who create horror movies and horror movie content. I'm a firm believer in that, which I did not know I had an opinion on that until a few months ago. So, like I said, we're all growing, we're all learning. And I'm going to be putting up more of those. But like I said, the 52-week things is one of the things that I've been looking at doing. And I am... how many books of the Bible have I read now? I've read like 20 now. So I'm planning on doing that while continuing my usual Bible reading and all of that. My Bible studies I've been doing with my husband, getting more in-depth reads of an understanding of what's going on, what's being said in the Bible. And I find it just extremely fascinating. And like I said, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning some ancient Hebrew, I'm learning some ancient Greek, which is crazy, learning a lot of history and geography. Geography was never my strong suit, but I love history. So learning a lot about that, which is really great. And so it's gonna tinge my content. Like I'm still gonna do my regular reviews, still gonna play the games that I want to play and have been playing. The games that I'm playing are not something that I would think like, oh no, you shouldn't play that. If I felt as a Christian I shouldn't be playing it, I wouldn't play it. So I will still be putting those online. I will still be trying to stream. I've been trying to stream, but like I said, it's been pretty ridiculous at work. Like if you Prime Day just happened and still suffering the consequences of that. So I've been trying to stream. And when I'm trying to stream, I will try to put those videos up. Do you guys have any questions or anything like that? You want to talk about things? Like I'll be live and can respond to it like as soon as I see the thing. I don't want to say as soon as it pops up because I'm terrible at responding to some chat when I'm really into a game. So I will try my best. But that's it. It won't, like I said, it won't change my channel dramatically. And it's not like I'm a big enough content creator that it's going to negatively affect me, really. I just wanted you guys to know. I wanted to put this out there for whoever needs to hear it, for whoever wants to. It's not like a big, well, it is a big deal. Ow, why is that hurting my ear? Well, it is a big deal, and does change how I view the world. It's not like my testimony is not ridiculous. Like you hear some people's testimonies out there and it's pretty wild. Mine is not. I'm just going through something that I'm like, oh yeah, no. Huh, look at that. Apparently I've been this for a while and I just didn't even know it. But now I know it, so I'm gonna put out more content like I have been doing, put out more diverse content now. And hopefully I will be able to have more time off from work, so I won't have to work as much. Prime Day is going to eventually stop. We're trying to get my vehicle fixed so I can be faster, and then I can be home more, and I can create more content, and that's going to be it. But yeah, I'll put some of the teachers that I started listening to, if you guys are curious, down in the description below. There's a bunch of different people in here, and it's a pretty diverse crowd when you start listening to them. And they all bring I learned something different from each and every one of them, which I have enjoyed. So I'll put their channels in there if you guys want to look at the John Barnett's 52 favorite chapters. I will put that in the description below. He also has a website you can find all of his resources on. And if you guys are curious about the Bible, I'll put the website for the Blue Letter Bible app. The Blue Letter Bible website, but it's also an app. You can just click in BLB into any app store. It'll pull it up. It's free. You can read any translation of the Bible for free, and it also has a narrator in there, so you can listen to the Bible, which I learned is 72 hours to listen to the whole Bible. 72 hours from start to finish. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll put that in there. I use the Blue Letter Bible app. I have it on my phone for when I'm not near my physical Bible. And that's about it. Now I get to finish my full of makeup. I get to do some other videos. So that was it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. I hope you guys have an amazing time doing whatever it is you're doing. And I will be putting out some more videos coming up soon of some more reviews and my monthly wrap up for, what month is it? June. Yep. I will have that up as well. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have an amazing time. Bye.